The humans' unwanted prize. The battlefield was still smoldering when Captain Leon Carter walked through the wreckage, his boots crunching over shattered metal and broken alien weapons. The war had been short, brutal, and decisive. The Zorthian Empire had fallen back, leaving behind ruins and their wounded warriors. Leon wiped the sweat from his brow, exhaling slowly. Another victory. Another paycheck. That was the life of a mercenary. He had no loyalty to the great galactic empires, only to those who could afford his services. A Zorthian ambassador approached him, flanked by two tall, armored guards. Their reptilian faces were unreadable, their golden eyes glowing under the artificial lights of the ruined city. The ambassador, wrapped in flowing red robes, bowed slightly, a gesture Leon had never seen a Zorthian do before. "You have proven yourself a great warrior, human," the ambassador said in a deep, rasping voice. "The Empire rewards those who bring honor to the battlefield." Leon crossed his arms. "If you're here to negotiate payment, talk to my employer." The ambassador smiled, revealing sharp teeth. "No need. The reward has already been decided. The Emperor himself has given you a most precious gift." Leon's eyes narrowed. He had been expecting credits, weapons, or territory. Instead, the guard stepped aside, revealing a figure in a long silver gown. She was tall, elegant, and unmistakably alien. Her smooth lavender skin shimmered under the lights, her silver-white hair flowing past her shoulders. Golden eyes locked onto Leon, filled with a cold, unreadable intensity. She was beautiful, but something about her felt dangerous. "This," the ambassador said, "is Princess Zyra of the Zorthian royal bloodline. She is now yours." Leon's stomach twisted. He didn't like where this was going. "What the hell is this?" he growled. "I'm not in the business of owning people." The ambassador's expression didn't change. "She is no longer of the royal family. She has been cast out. She is barren. Useless. You may do with her as you please." Leon glanced at the princess, expecting to see fear, anger, maybe even defiance. But Sarah stood tall, her face calm, her golden eyes watching him carefully. "Let me get this straight," Leon said, his voice low. "Your empire loses the battle, and your big idea of a reward is to dump an exiled princess on me. What, you think I need a trophy?" The ambassador shrugged. "It is tradition." Leon snorted in disgust. He had fought in dozens of wars, seen the worst of what alien civilizations could do. But this was just pathetic. He turned to Ktira. "You want to go?" he asked, keeping his voice even. "Because if you do, I'm not stopping you." Zara finally spoke, her voice smooth yet edged with something sharp. "And go where, human? I have no home, no allies. If I refuse this gift, they will kill me." Leon's jaw tightened. He looked back at the ambassador, whose face remained neutral. "She is correct," the Zorthian said. "She belongs to you now. If you leave her behind, she will not live to see another sunrise." Leon hated this. He hated being forced into a decision that wasn't his to make. He hated the way the ambassador spoke about her, like she was just an object, an inconvenience. But most of all, he hated the way Zyra looked at him. As if she had already accepted her fate, as if she didn't expect him to care. With a heavy sigh, Leon turned back to his ship. "Fine. She comes with me." Zyra raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. The guards stepped back, their job complete. As they walked toward his ship, Leon muttered, "This is the dumbest deal I've ever made." Zyra chuckled softly. "Oh, human," she said in a voice barely above a whisper. "You don't even understand what you've just done." Leon felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't over. It was just the beginning. The princess and the mercenary. The hum of the spaceship's engines filled the quiet cabin, but inside Leon Carter's personal quarters, the silence between him and Princess Zyra was almost suffocating. Leon sat at the edge of his chair, hands clasped together, watching the alien princess with wary eyes. Zaira, in turn, stood near the viewport, gazing out at the endless void of space. She looked calm, too calm. Most people, especially those who had just been handed over like property, would have been angry, desperate, or even terrified. But Zaira, she barely reacted. That unsettled Leon. He leaned back, exhaling. "You haven't said a word since we left that rock. I figured you'd have a lot to say." Zaira didn't turn, but her voice was smooth, controlled. "And what would you have me say, human?" Leon raised an eyebrow. "For starters, maybe a screw you, Leon, I'm not your property. Or maybe a help me get my revenge on those bastards who dumped me." Finally, she turned, golden eyes locking onto his. "You assume I need your help." Leon smirked. "No, princess. I assume you have a plan. And I want to know if it gets me killed." Zaira studied him for a moment before she stepped closer, moving like a shadow. She was tall, nearly his height, and something about the way she carried herself screamed danger. Not a warrior's danger. No, she wasn't built like a soldier. She was something else. "I have no plan," she admitted, folding her arms, "because I do not know what comes next." Leon tilted his head. "You mean to tell me the almighty Zorthian royal princess has no backup, no secret allies, no fleet of rebels waiting to burn the empire down?" Zaira's lips curled into a small, almost mocking smile. "You give me too much credit. I was never a princess. Not truly. I was a prisoner in a palace built for my own silence." Leon frowned. "What do you mean?" Zaira sighed, walking toward a chair and sitting with almost unnatural grace. "In Zorthian society, power is determined by bloodlines. The emperor's lineage is considered the strongest, pure, unbreakable." She tapped her own chest lightly. "I was born with that bloodline. But I was also born different, too strong, too independent, a threat." Leon's eyes narrowed. "And the whole Barren thing?" Her expression darkened. "A lie." Silence stretched between them. Leon had been in 100 battles, faced down aliens that made his skin crawl, survived explosions and betrayals, but something about this conversation sent a chill down his spine. "They altered you," he muttered, piecing it together. Zaira nodded. "They ensured I could never bear a child, so I could never create a future outside their control. And when I refused to be their silent, obedient pawn, they found a new way to dispose of me." Leon leaned forward. "By giving you to me." Zaira's golden eyes flashed. "Yes. To them, I am nothing but a dead branch of the royal tree. But now," she let out a quiet breath, almost amused, "now I am yours. A problem you must deal with." Leon sat back, running a hand down his face. "Yeah, lucky me." For the first time since they left Zorthian space, Heir truly smiled. It was small, but there was something darkly amused in it. "You regret taking me already?" she asked. Leon gave her a long look. "I regret a lot of things, princess. You're just moving up the list." Zaira chuckled. Leon exhaled sharply. "Look, I don't care what those lizards think, but let's get one thing straight. You're not my prisoner, and I'm sure as hell not your master. You want out, I'll drop you on the nearest neutral planet. You want to stay, you follow my rules." Zaira tilted her head. "And if I don't?" Leon smirked. "Then you'll find out just how stubborn humans can be." Zaira considered him for a moment, then stood, walking past him toward the door. "Very well, Captain Carter. I will follow your rules for now." She stopped at the threshold, looking over her shoulder. "But be warned. The moment you took me, you changed your fate. You just don't realize it yet." With that, she left. Leon sat there, staring at the door long after it closed. He had a bad feeling about this. A really, really bad feeling. A deadly truth uncovered. The hum of the ship's engines was steady, a rhythmic background noise as Captain Leon Carter sat at the control panel, staring at the medical report in front of him. The words didn't make sense. Barren, genetically altered, reversal detected. Leon wasn't a scientist, but even he could see what the data was screaming. Princess Zyra wasn't Barren anymore. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling. This was bad. Footsteps echoed behind him, slow and deliberate. He didn't need to turn to know it was her. "You're avoiding me, Captain Carter," Zyra said, her voice smooth as silk, but carrying an edge of amusement. "That's unusual for a human." Leon turned in his chair, watching as she stepped into the room. She was dressed in the simple gray attire he had given her, a stark contrast to the elegant silver gown she had worn as a so-called gift. Even without the royal guard, she looked like a queen. Proud, unreadable, dangerous. Leon leaned back, not avoiding, just thinking. Lyra raised an eyebrow. "And what thoughts trouble you, human?" He hesitated. Should he tell her? Would she even believe him? Instead of answering, he turned the screen toward her. "Take a look." She approached, her golden eyes scanning the data. As she read, her expression slowly shifted, not shock, not fear, but something deeper. "This," she whispered, trailing off. Leon folded his arms. "Yeah, so either your people screwed up, or they really didn't want you to know what they did to you." Silence. Zyra's fingers hovered over the screen, but her body was rigid, her breathing controlled. It was the first time he had ever seen her truly unsettled. "They tampered with my bloodline," she murmured. "Made sure I could never continue it." She looked up, eyes narrowing. "And yet, you're telling me that's changed." Leon nodded. "Whatever they did, it's coming undone." "And the kicker?" He tapped the screen. "It's only reversing because of human DNA." Zyra's lips parted slightly, but she quickly regained control of her expression. "That is impossible." Leon smirked. "Yeah. Welcome to humanity, Princess. We specialize in doing the impossible." But the amusement didn't last. The weight of the situation was pressing down on them both. Leon pushed himself up from his chair, walking toward her. "Look, I don't claim to understand your biology, but this," he pointed at the report. "This is big. If the Zorthians find out, they will kill me." Leon stopped. The way she said it, so calmly, so certainly, made his stomach twist. "They won't just kill you," he muttered. "They'll burn down everything in their path to make sure whatever's happening inside you doesn't spread." Zyra's eyes darkened. "Because it threatens them." Leon nodded. "Because it proves their entire system is a lie. Your people run their empire on bloodlines, on control. If you, an exiled, barren princess, can suddenly carry an heir, and heir with human blood, it would change everything." Zyra finished. Silence stretched between them again, heavier this time. Leon watched her closely, trying to read her expression. He expected anger, maybe panic, but what he saw was resolve. Zyra wasn't afraid. She was thinking, calculating. Finally, she looked up. "Then the answer is clear." Leon frowned. "Yeah, what's that?" "We do not let them find out." Leon let out a dry laugh. "Oh, sure, no problem. We'll just casually keep this a secret from an empire that spans 100 star systems. Should be easy." Zyra smirked. "You exaggerate, Captain Carter." Leon gestured around the room. "Do I? Because I think we're about 10 minutes away from the Zorthians realizing something's up and sending their best hunters after us." Zyra's smirk faded. "Then we must leave Zorthian-controlled space. Immediately." Leon sighed. "Yeah, that's the plan. Problem is, our ship is due for a refuel soon, and we're still within tracking range." Zyra straightened. "I know a place." Leon's gaze sharpened. "Oh, do tell." She hesitated, then said, There is a faction that opposes the Empire, a group of rebels, outcasts, and exiles. They operate in the Red Abyss sector, dangerous territory, but hidden from the Zorthian fleets. Leon's lips thinned. Let me guess, you have history with them. Zyra's expression remained unreadable. They are not my allies, but they are not the Empire. And right now, that is all that matters. Leon exhaled. This was insane. A barren alien princess, now carrying his hair, and hair that could shake the foundations of a galactic empire. A desperate run into rebel space, hoping to hide from an unstoppable enemy. And through it all, Zyra still didn't seem afraid. Leon gave her one last look before turning back to the ship's controls. Fine, we make for the Red Abyss, but if this place turns out to be a trap, just know. I will handle it, Zyra said smoothly. Leon smirked. Yeah, guess we'll see. As he started prepping the ship's jump drive, a thought nagged at the back of his mind. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about the future. The Empire strikes back. The ship trembled as Leon Carter gripped the controls, his jaw clenched. The Red Abyss loomed ahead, a dark, lawless sector filled with space debris, old war wrecks, and pirate hideouts. It was the last place anyone in their right mind would fly into. But right now, it was their only chance. Behind them, sensors blared red. Multiple ships were closing in. Zorthian warships. How the hell did they find us this fast? Leon muttered. His hands moved rapidly over the console, calculating hyperspace routes, but the enemy was too close for a clean jump. Zyra stood beside him, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. I warned you. The Empire never lets go of what they deem valuable. Leon shot her a glare. Yeah. Well, next time, maybe warn me before they send an entire damn fleet after us. A sudden explosion rocked the ship. Sparks flew as a nearby panel overloaded. Zyra barely reacted. They will attempt to disable us first. They want me alive. Leon growled. Great. That means I'm expendable. She glanced at him. You are. An inconvenience. Leon laughed dryly. Damn, princess. Try not to sound too sentimental. Another blast hit the rear shields, forcing the ship to jerk violently. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. They wouldn't last much longer. We're out of options, Leon muttered. If we don't shake them now. A new alarm shrieked through the cabin. Zyra frowned. What is that? Leon checked the readings, and his stomach dropped. Boarding ships. They're not just trying to shoot us down. They're coming in. Zyra's golden eyes flickered with something dark. Then they have made a mistake. Leon didn't like the way she said that. He jumped from his chair, grabbing his rifle from the weapons locker. I'll hold them off. Get to the engine room and override the manual jump drive. If you don't hear from me in 5 minutes. Zyra cut him off. No. Leon blinked. No. She stepped closer, her voice eerily calm. You do not fight this alone. Leon narrowed his eyes. You know how to handle a gun. Zyra smiled faintly. I know how to kill. Leon sighed. Right. Of course you do. He tossed her a sidearm. Let's hope you're as good as you say. Before she could respond, the ship shuddered violently. The boarding tubes had attached. The enemy was inside. Leon checked his rifle, exhaled sharply, and moved toward the airlock. Zyra followed silently, her presence unsettlingly controlled. The moment the hatch burst open, the fight began. A battle in the belly of the ship. Zorthian soldiers stormed in, their armor gleaming under the flickering emergency lights. Leon fired first, taking down 2 before they could react. Zyra moved like a shadow, sidestepping a blast and plunging a stolen blade into an enemy's throat. Leon whistled. Remind me never to piss you off. Zyra didn't answer. She was already moving to the next enemy. More soldiers flooded in. Leon ducked behind cover, firing in short, controlled bursts. Heir, however, wasn't using cover at all. She moved too fast, too precise, dodging, striking, tearing through their ranks with terrifying efficiency. Leon had seen some of the best human soldiers in the galaxy fight. But this was something else. A soldier lunged at Heir. She grabbed his wrist, twisted, a sickening crack echoed, and threw him into another enemy like he weighed nothing. Leon shot the last two standing enemies, then turned to her. "You sure you're not secretly a war machine?" Heir flicked the blood off her blade. "I told you. I was made to be a weapon." Before Leon could respond, the ship's eye alarm blared. Warning. Multiple warships in pursuit. Jump calculations interrupted. Leon cursed. "They're blocking our jump. Damn it." Heir's expression hardened. "Then we do not run. We make a stand." Leon clenched his jaw. "Princess, I hate to break it to you, but we're not exactly winning this fight." Heir tilted her head. "Not unless we change the battlefield." Leon frowned. "What are you talking about?" Heir turned toward the control panel, typing commands into the system. "The Red Abyss," she said. "We do not need to outrun them. We only need to lure them into a place they cannot escape." Leon's eyes widened. "You're talking about the Wraith Belt." Heir nodded. "A graveyard of ancient warships. A place where only the foolish dare to tread. The Empire will not expect us to go there." Leon groaned. "Because it's a death trap." Heir met his gaze. "And yet, we are already dead if we do not take the risk." Leon hesitated. Every instinct told him this was a bad idea. But the alternative? He let out a slow breath. "Fine. Let's fly straight into hell." He rushed back to the cockpit. Heir close behind. As he gripped the controls, the ship's engines roared, and they shot toward the Wraith Belt, with an entire Zorthian fleet on their tail. Leon muttered under his breath, "This is either gonna be the smartest thing we've ever done, or the last." Heir, standing beside him, simply smiled. For the first time, she wasn't running. She was ready to fight. Escape and betrayal. The Wraith Belt loomed ahead, a massive graveyard of ancient warships, derelict space stations, and drifting wreckage. It was a place feared by even the most reckless of pilots, a region where navigation systems failed, communications faltered, and ships vanished without a trace. Leon gripped the controls, his knuckles turning white. Behind them, the Zorthian warships were closing in, their weapons primed to fire. Heir stood beside him, her golden eyes locked on the swirling debris field ahead. She was calm, unnervingly so. "You sure about this, Princess?" Leon muttered. Heir tilted her head. "The Empire will not follow us inside." Leon snorted. "Yeah, because they assume we'll die in there." Heir smirked. "Then let us prove them wrong." Leon exhaled sharply, then pushed the thrusters to full power. The ship lurched forward, shooting toward the chaotic maze of wreckage. The moment they entered the Wraith Belt, the ship's warning systems blared. Alert. Navigational interference detected. Scanning systems offline. Autopilot disabled. Leon gritted his teeth, forcing manual control as they weaved between massive, rusting warship husks. The Zorthians hesitated. Their fleet hovered at the edge, their captains clearly uncertain. The stories of ships disappearing in this region were legendary. But hesitation didn't mean surrender. One of the Zorthian commanders, either braver or more foolish than the rest, ordered his warships forward. "They're coming in," Leon shouted. Heir's lips curled into a dark smile. "Then we make sure they regret it." A deadly chase through the graveyard. The first Zorthian warship entered the Wraith Belt and immediately suffered for it. A chunk of old rusted debris slammed into its hull, sending it spiraling into an abandoned battleship. The resulting explosion lit up the void like a dying sun. Leon whooped. "One down." Zaira, however, wasn't celebrating. Her eyes remained sharp, focused. "They are adapting," she murmured. Leon saw it too. The Zorthians were adjusting their flight paths, moving slower, learning from their mistakes. "Won't take long before they figure out how to track us," he muttered. Zaira's expression hardened. "Then we cannot stay here." Leon checked the scanners, cursing under his breath. "We're running out of fuel. We need a place to land and refuel. Fast." Zaira hesitated, then said, "There is a station nearby. An outpost hidden within the wreckage." Leon shot her a look. "And you just now remembered this?" She met his gaze evenly. "Because it is not a safe place, Captain Carter. But at this moment, we have no other choice." Leon grumbled, but turned the ship toward the coordinates Heir provided. A large, hollowed-out space station emerged from the shadows of the wreckage. It was old, rusted, but still functional. As they approached, the station's automated docking system activated, pulling them into its dark, cavernous interior. Refuge or trap? The moment the ship landed, Leon and Zaira armed themselves. "Stay close," Leon muttered as they stepped out. "Places like this attract the worst kind of people." Zaira smirked. "Then I will fit right in." Leon sighed. "That's what I'm afraid of." Inside, the station was dimly lit, the air thick with tension. The walls were covered in old banners, worn-out insignias of fallen factions. And then they saw them. The exiles, the outcasts, the rebels. A dozen figures emerged from the shadows, weapons in hand, their eyes filled with distrust and curiosity. One figure stepped forward, a tall, scared alien with cold silver eyes. He looked at Zaira, then at Leon. "Never thought I'd see a Zorthian princess walking into my station," the alien said, his voice gravelly. "And with a human, no less." Zaira straightened. "We need supplies, fuel, and passage beyond the Wraith Belt." The alien chuckled. "Passage? You expect us to help you, after what your empire did to us?" Zaira's jaw tightened. "I am not with the empire." The alien studied her for a long moment, then turned to Leon. "And what about you, human? What's your angle?" Leon shrugged. "Just trying to stay alive." The alien nodded slowly. "Then let's make a deal." Leon never trusted deals made in places like this, but right now, they had no choice. Betrayal in the dark. As the rebels refueled the ship, Zaira and Leon stayed cautious. Something felt off. Leon noticed how some of the rebels whispered among themselves, glancing toward Zaira. He noticed how others disappeared down the halls, moving with too much urgency. Then he saw it, the communication relay blinking active. His stomach dropped. Someone was sending a signal. His instincts screamed, and he grabbed Zaira's arm, pulling her behind cover just as the first shot rang out. A rebel had turned on them, his weapon aimed at Zaira. "Son of a..." Leon returned fire, hitting the traitor square in the chest. The station erupted into chaos. More rebels turned their weapons on them, while others shouted in confusion. Zaira moved like lightning, ducking behind cover as Leon took down another attacker. "They betrayed us," Leon growled. Zaira's eyes were sharp, furious. "No, they were never on our side." The station's alarm blared, a signal to incoming ships. And then, through the viewport, Leon saw them. Zorthian warships. The rebels had sold them out. Leon grabbed Zaira's wrist. "We need to move now." The station shook violently as the Zorthians opened fire. Their ship was still refueling. They had minutes before the enemy boarded. Zaira clenched her fists. "No more running, Captain Carter." Leon met her gaze, and what he saw in her eyes wasn't fear. It was determination, rage, and something else, something dangerous. She wasn't going to let them take her. Not now. Not ever. The last stand. The space station shuddered violently, metal groaning under the onslaught of Zorthian warships. Sirens screamed through the halls, red emergency lights flickering like dying stars. Smoke filled the air as sparks rained from the overhead panels, casting everything in a haze of chaos. Leon Carter cursed under his breath, yanking Syra behind a stack of metal crates as another energy blast ripped through the docking bay. "This is bad," he muttered. Syra's golden eyes burned with cold fury. "We should have killed them all the moment we arrived." Leon gave her a look. "Yeah. And what? Fight our way through 100 rebels before taking on an entire Zorthian war fleet?" He shook his head, checking his rifle. "We're good, princess, but we're not that good." Zyra's lips curled slightly. "Then perhaps it is time we become better." Leon exhaled. This woman was insane. The rebels who had betrayed them were now caught between two fires, Zorthian warriors storming the station from one side, while Leon and Syra cut them down from the other. "You think the Empire planned this?" Leon asked, taking down a rebel who tried to flank them. Syra moved with lethal precision, ducking low and slicing through an enemy's throat with a stolen blade. No, they would never negotiate with outcasts. The rebels saw a chance for profit and sealed their own fate. Leon smirked. "Well, ain't that poetic?" The station trembled again, harder this time. Leon stole a glance at their ship. It was still fueling. 70%. Not enough to jump. "We need time," he muttered. Zyra's gaze hardened. "Then we buy it." Unleashing the weapon within, another squad of Zorthian soldiers breached the docking bay, their armor reflecting the crimson emergency lights. Their leader, a towering brute of a warrior, locked eyes with Syra and froze. Leon didn't miss it. He watched as the Zorthians hesitated, their weapons lowering for a split second before they corrected themselves. They knew her. Leon pressed closer to Syra. "You recognize these guys?" She didn't answer immediately. Then, in a voice sharp as a blade, she said, "They are Imperial hunters, trained for one purpose, to eliminate royal traitors." Leon's gut tightened. "So, they're here for you." Zyra's expression darkened. "They are here to erase me." The lead hunter took a step forward, his voice booming. "Syra Valteri, daughter of the Emperor, the exile who should not exist. You are to be terminated." Leon scoffed. "Well, that's not very welcoming." The hunter ignored him. "Your genetic impurity is an abomination. You should never have been born." Zyra smiled. It wasn't warm. It wasn't human. "Then come and correct your mistake." Before Leon could react, she moved. The unleashed storm. Syra wasn't just fast. She was a storm. Leon had seen skilled fighters. Hell, he had fought alongside elite human special forces. But what Syra did defied logic. She didn't just dodge the first attack. She anticipated it. Before the lead hunter could react, she had already closed the distance, striking his helmet with such force that cracks splintered across his visor. Leon took down another soldier, but his attention was fixed on her. Zyra's movements were fluid, almost unnatural, like she knew what was coming before it happened. She twisted around a blade strike, grabbed the attacker's wrist, and ripped his arm from its socket before throwing him into another soldier. Leon's blood ran cold. "Syra," he muttered under his breath. "What the hell are you?" But she didn't hear him. She was lost in the fight, her golden eyes now glowing faintly, her strikes faster, sharper, deadlier. She wasn't just fighting. She was awakening. The lead hunter staggered back, gripping his shattered helmet. "Impossible," he rasped. "You were supposed to be suppressed." Leon's mind clicked. Suppressed. The Empire hadn't just altered her genes to keep her barren. They had done something more. "Syra," Leon called, keeping his rifle trained on the remaining hunters. "Tell me the truth. What did they do to you?" Syra didn't answer at first. Then, slowly, she turned to him. "I was not born to be a princess, Leon Carter," she said, her voice unnervingly steady. "I was born to be a weapon. Leon's pulse spiked. He had joked about it before, but now he knew. They hadn't just exiled her because she was strong-willed. They had locked away something dangerous inside her, something that was now breaking free. The fall of the station. A sudden explosion rocked the docking bay. The Zorthians weren't waiting anymore. Their warships had opened fire on the station itself. Leon checked the ship's fuel levels. 85%. Not enough. Damn it. He cursed. We don't have time. Shira didn't hesitate. Then we take a ship. Leon blinked. What? Shira pointed toward a docked Zorthian assault cruiser, one of the enemy's own ships. Leon grinned. I like the way you think, Princess. They sprinted toward the cruiser, dodging falling debris and stray fire. The remaining rebels and Zorthians were too busy killing each other to stop them. Leon shot open the entrance hatch, and they climbed aboard. Shira hacked into the ship's system, overriding the controls in seconds. Leon whistled. You do this often. Shira smirked. I was raised in a palace full of enemies. Hacking was a necessity. Leon took the pilot's seat, fingers flying over the controls. Hold on. The ship roared to life, engines burning hot as they tore out of the docking bay, just as the station collapsed in on itself, consumed by explosions. Behind them, the Wraith Belt swallowed the wreckage, along with every rebel and soldier inside. They had escaped, but Leon knew the fight wasn't over. He glanced at Shira, who sat beside him, her golden eyes still glowing faintly. Something was different now. She had changed, and whatever had awakened inside her, the Empire would never let it exist. The birth of a new legacy. The stolen Zorthian assault cruiser burned through the stars, its engines leaving a blazing trail across the void. Captain Leon Carter gripped the flight controls with white-knuckled hands, his gaze darting between the damage reports flashing across the ship's console. Behind him, Princess Shira sat in silence, her golden eyes still carrying the faintest trace of the unnatural glow that had appeared during the battle. Leon had seen a lot in his years as a mercenary, wars, betrayals, even the destruction of entire planets, but nothing had shaken him quite like what he had just witnessed. Shira hadn't just fought the Zorthian hunters. She had annihilated them. Not with technology, not with weapons, with herself. And the worst part, she didn't even seem surprised. Leon exhaled, finally turning his chair to face her. All right, Princess, let's have it. What the hell was that back there? Shira tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. Leon pressed on. You tore through those Zorthian hunters like they were nothing. I fought with enhanced soldiers before, but that. He pointed at her. That was something else. She was quiet for a long moment before finally responding. I told you, Captain Carter, I was not born to be a princess. Leon scoffed. Yeah, no kidding. Her golden eyes locked onto his, sharp as a blade. I was born to be the next step in our evolution. Leon frowned. Explain. Shira leaned back, her fingers tracing along the armrest of her seat. The Zorthian Empire does not rule through power alone. They rule through control of bloodlines, of genetics, of history itself. Every emperor, every noble, is carefully engineered to ensure their dominance remains unchallenged. Leon felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. And you? Shira's lips curled into something almost bitter. I was there. Experiment. Leon's eyes narrowed. What kind of experiment? She inhaled slowly. A hybridization project. An attempt to create something beyond Zorthian limitations. A being stronger, faster, more adaptable. I was supposed to be the first of a new breed of rulers, one who could ensure the Empire's reign for 10,000 years. Leon let out a low whistle. And I'm guessing that plan didn't exactly work out. Shira's fingers clenched slightly. No, because I was too unpredictable, too independent. My power did not make me a perfect ruler. It made me a threat. Leon ran a hand through his hair. So they tried to bury you. She nodded. They altered my genetic structure, suppressing my true potential. They declared me barren, ensured I could never pass my bloodline forward, and when I refused to be their puppet, they exiled me. Leon exhaled, leaning back against his chair. And now? Zyra's gaze dropped to her hands, her expression unreadable. Now, it is too late. The suppression is breaking. Leon frowned. Because of the pregnancy. Zyra hesitated, then nodded. The genetic lock placed on me was designed to prevent Zorthian reproduction. But human DNA is different. Leon blinked. So what you're saying is, her voice was calm but absolute. Your DNA has awakened something in me that the Empire sought to bury forever. Leon felt his heart skip a beat. This wasn't just about a forbidden hair anymore. This was about what that hair represented. A child that would be the first of its kind. A hybrid of two species, a fusion of human resilience and Zorthian power. A child that the Empire would do anything to destroy. Leon let out a slow breath. Well, that's gonna make our next move interesting. Nowhere left to run. The console blared a proximity alert, snapping Leon out of his thoughts. Zyra immediately straightened. What is it? Leon checked the readings. We've got company. He pulled up the external sensors, and his stomach dropped. Just beyond their ship, a fleet of Zorthian warships blocked their path. It wasn't just a hunting party this time. It was a full-scale extermination force. Zyra's gaze darkened. They will not allow us to leave this system alive. Leon tightened his grip on the controls. Yeah, I figured. The ship's comm system suddenly crackled to life. A deep, resonant voice filled the cockpit, a voice that sent a chill down Zyra's spine. Sarah Valteri. Leon glanced at her. I take it you know this guy. Zyra's expression was unreadable, but her fingers dug into the armrest. It is my father. Leon blinked. Wait, the Emperor himself. She nodded slowly. The voice continued. You will surrender immediately. You will be taken into custody. And this aberration will be erased. There is no future for it. There is no future for you. Leon scowled. Well, that's a little dramatic. Zyra's jaw clenched. Then, to Leon's surprise, she pressed the comm button and answered. You fear me. The silence on the other end was deafening. Zyra's voice was steady, her golden eyes now glowing again. You would not have sent an entire fleet if you did not see the truth. You know what I am. You know what I carry. Her fingers traced over her stomach, where the future of two species now existed. You have spent your life ensuring the Empire's dominion remains unchallenged, she continued. And yet, here I stand, the daughter you abandoned, now carrying something you cannot control. You are afraid. Leon swallowed. For the first time, he saw something shift in Zyra. Not just defiance, not just strength, but purpose. The comm remained silent for several long seconds. Then, the Emperor's voice returned, colder than before. Then you leave me no choice. The warships began charging their weapons. Leon moved instantly, flipping switches, preparing for a last-ditch escape. We can't fight that, Zyra. But Sarah was already standing, stepping toward the viewport, her golden eyes now shining like twin stars. No, she said softly. We do not fight. She placed a hand on the console. We ascend. Before Leon could question what she meant, the ship lurched violently, but not from enemy fire. Something inside Zyra ignited, a pulse of raw, unknown energy that rippled through space itself. The Zorthian fleet, once closing in, suddenly halted. Their ships flickered, their systems failing without explanation. Leon's jaw dropped. You've got to be kidding me. Zyra turned to him, her expression unreadable. It is time, Captain Carter, she said. Time to change everything.